A desperate voice begs for the harsh reality to be a mere lie amidst the pouring rain. Standing under an umbrella with another guy, the girl tearfully bids a final farewell to Hero. Falling to his knees in the relentless downpour, the heartbroken boy unleashes a long, agonizing scream. Hidden beneath his own umbrella, the instigator smiles sadistically at the incredible scene of pure despair. He revels in the chaotic thrill of betrayal, considering this twisted drama to be absolutely exhilarating. Walking alongside his new conquest, he casually brushes off her innocent concern with a bright smile. He eagerly checks his phone while his cheerful girlfriend waves energetically in the bright classroom background. Pushing earphones into his ears, he excitedly listens to the secretly recorded audio of the recent breakup. Panting softly with a flushed face, he savors the agonizing sounds of the freshly shattered relationship. His voice recorder app displays a long list of meticulously collected audio files capturing ruined romances. Admitting his own toxic nature, the boy happily confesses that the sound of breaking minds is incredible. Stealing away another man's partner, he secretly harbors a dark desire to be the victimized girl himself. Clutching his head in deep frustration, he realizes that as a guy his bizarre wish remains impossible. Desperate to ease his unquenchable thirst, he wanders around intentionally sabotaging every happy couple he can find. Listening intently to the recorded breakdown, the absolute degenerate gleefully enjoys the sweet sounds of utter despair. Strolling down the sidewalk with his earphones, he silently thanks the victims for providing such magnificent entertainment. Approaching a bustling city crosswalk, the distracted boy remains completely absorbed in his sinister audio collection. Unaware of the screaming woman nearby, he calmly reflects on his uniquely twisted identity and past actions. Stepping carelessly onto the dangerous street, his toxic lifestyle continues uninterrupted up until this very fateful moment. A sudden gasp escapes his lips as he looks up to see a massive vehicle rapidly approaching. Standing frozen in the intersection, the boy stares blankly at the overwhelming grille of the speeding truck. Blurry figures of a smiling man and woman look down affectionately at their newly born baby girl. Resting safely inside a cozy crib, the reincarnated soul thanks the heavens after surviving the fatal collision. A profound revelation washes over the child as she realizes her incredible rebirth as a female infant. Getting a fresh diaper change, the baby rejoices that fate has finally granted her ultimate dying wish. Standing up proudly in her crib, the toddler plots to experience the heartbreaking betrayal she always craved. Resolving to flip the script from her past life, the little girl embraces her newly female destiny. Fueled by a bizarre ambition, she vows to become the tragic star of her own epic heartbreak story. Standing confidently outside a modern suburban house, a woman prepares to escort her young daughter to school. The cheerful little girl excitedly agrees with her mother that it is finally time for kindergarten classes. Adjusting her cute uniform, the deeply scheming child innocently asks if her stylish bangs look perfectly okay. Sitting quietly in her car seat, the seemingly ordinary kindergartner introduces herself as the newly named Reiko. Acknowledging her completely different name, the young girl quietly reflects on the bizarre transition from her past. Watching her smiling mother drive the car, Reiko acknowledges that her new parents are still complete strangers. Recalling her internet research, the child confirms she has been reincarnated into a very similar modern Japan. Deciding to sort out any historical differences later, the focused girl narrows down her true ultimate goal. With absolute certainty and disturbing passion, the child reconfirms her burning desire to become a tragic heroine. Covering her flushed face with tiny hands, she trembles with excitement over fulfilling her long-lost masculine dream. Smiling sinisterly in the back seat, the wicked toddler feels like a rising Hollywood star beginning her masterpiece. Flashing an absolutely unhinged and terrifying grin, little Reiko gleefully declares that her new life will be crazy. Sitting among children making origami, Reiko inwardly reflects that betrayal scenarios are never simply one-size-fits-all. She considers how these dramatic romantic situations can range wildly from non-consensual force to willing participation. Her twisted mind debates whether the tragic heroine should be wonderfully pure or a shameless seductress. The calculating toddler also wonders if the rival stealing the girl is handsome or utterly repulsive. She realizes exploring older or younger rivals barely scratches the surface of this endlessly fascinating genre. Possessing a reset ability would allow her to gruesomely gut herself just to experience every scenario. Despite her extensive inner yapping, the scheming child already has a specific general direction in mind. Smiling brightly, she proudly determines that childhood friend betrayal remains the undisputed holy grail of heartbreak. She relishes the thought of two innocent people building a beautiful bond from their early childhood. That precious foundation must ultimately get completely trashed and violently stolen away by another man's hands. Imagining this profound emotional devastation brings her a supreme pleasure that elevates far beyond physical intimacy. She firmly believes this exquisite emotional torture becomes significantly richer the longer you let it age. This demanding narrative requires that the childhood friend targeted for ultimate betrayal cannot be some random nobody. In her professional opinion, settling for a half-assed target guarantees the grand scheme will ultimately fail. Armed with these incredibly high standards, she immediately sets her predatory sights on one specific boy. Calling out sweetly across the sunny playground, the cunning girl cheerfully gets little Yuki's undivided attention. The innocent little boy looks up from the dirt and politely asks what she wants today. She coldly analyzes Tachibana Yuki as a perfectly ordinary and slightly chubby boy lacking standout features. Observing him closely, she quickly notes that his personality is exceptionally shy and predictably quite timid. Despite his flaws, this gentle boy possesses a beautiful heart and deeply loves flowers and animals. His immense kindness makes her conclude that he is practically born to have his girl stolen. Although she prefers true next-door neighbors, a quick walk between their houses remains perfectly acceptable. Smiling warmly at her oblivious target, she reaffirms that a genuinely beautiful heart is her only requirement. An underlying inferiority complex wrapped in plain looks makes him incredibly easy to manipulate into total dependency. She joyfully anticipates the magnificent agony he will experience when his whole world is brutally taken away. Seeking to create divine sounds of despair, she sweetly asks the lonely boy if they can play. The startled little boy looks up with wide eyes and a profoundly confused expression on his face. Seating herself comfortably beside him in the dirt, the cunning girl initiates her deeply twisted master plan. A loud voice suddenly interrupts their quiet moment by energetically calling out her name across the yard. Another enthusiastic child demands that she abandon the silly flowers and join an exciting game of soccer. Hearing the loud invitation, the timid boy immediately averts his gaze and shrinks back into profound silence. Brushing off the tempting offer with a polite smile, she firmly declares that she is perfectly okay. Leaning closely against her chosen target, she loudly announces her steadfast dedication to playing only with Yuki. Utterly stunned by her unexpected loyalty, the young boy stares at her with wide and emotional eyes. She vows to meticulously build his absolute dependency until the foolish boy is completely wrapped around her finger. Realizing a perfect betrayal requires a worthy prize, she silently resolves to make herself incredibly irresistible. Fostering an obsessive desire in both the victim and the eventual thief remains absolutely essential for victory. Cultivating herself into a flawless and breathtakingly beautiful girl forms the critical foundation of her entire scheme. Frustrated by her tiny toddler body, she acknowledges that intense beauty and fashion routines are currently impossible. Relying heavily on her past home-wrecking experience, she pivots toward aggressively developing an incredibly charming and lovable personality. The days passed smoothly as the children grew older in their quiet suburban neighborhood. Reiko cheerfully greets her childhood friend as they prepare for school. Yuki cheerfully returns her morning greeting as the two start their 6th grade year. Reiko intimately insists on fixing Yuki's messy bedhead while he shyly protests her closeness. The timid young boy blushes deeply and looks completely surprised by her sudden physical affection. Yuki's mother suddenly opens the door and apologizes to Reiko for the repeated trouble. Reiko cheerfully greets the woman who praises the young girl for constantly helping Yuki. The manipulative girl assures the grateful mother that she genuinely enjoys taking care of Yuki. Holding a spray bottle and comb, Reiko firmly commands the boy to stay completely still. She deliberately leans in close to brush his hair while flaunting her carefully crafted charm. Yuki stammers nervously and blushes heavily because his beautiful childhood friend is standing too close. Gently patting his neatly styled hair, the satisfied girl cheerfully declares that she is finished. She enthusiastically compliments his handsome appearance and happily praises how great he looks today. Playfully poking his cheek, she ensures her affectionate physical contact keeps him completely emotionally hooked. Flushed red with deep embarrassment, the incredibly shy boy quietly stammers out his sincere thanks. Bidding his mother farewell, the two inseparable friends confidently head off toward their middle school. Reiko smoothly grabs his hand and warmly notes how long it has been since this. The timid boy gazes up at her with pure affection and profound innocent childhood trust. Hand in hand, the perfectly crafted pair strolls peacefully along the sunny neighborhood walking path. A sudden teasing sound interrupts their quiet moment as watchful classmates notice their linked hands. Loud classmates excitedly tease the blushing duo by calling them a super lovey-dovey married couple. Yuki desperately denies the romantic rumors while the energetic boys whistle and call them perfect. Grabbing his hand tightly, Reiko quickly pulls the deeply embarrassed boy away from the teasing. She cheerfully ignores the loud comments and directly urges Yuki to hurry along with her. Walking slightly behind her, the flustered boy sincerely wishes their classmates would stop teasing them. Hidden from his view, the deeply manipulative girl wears a terrifyingly dark and calculating expression. She inwardly rejoices that their incredibly flawless setup makes them an official couple to everyone. Breaking her dark train of thought, Yuki innocently asks if she muttered something just now. Snapping back to her sweet persona, she quickly denies saying anything and acts completely innocent. Pulling him forward enthusiastically, she leaves the bewildered boy wondering if he just imagined things. The school bell finally rings and classes conclude as the peaceful afternoon slowly rolls in. Students casually gather by the shoe lockers to chat and prepare for their walk back home. Opening her storage locker, Reiko suddenly pauses as something unexpected catches her sharp immediate attention. A mysterious sealed envelope adorned with a black heart sits neatly directly atop her shoes. Turning back toward her waiting friend, she quickly apologizes to him with a surprised expression. She instructs Yuki to walk home alone because she supposedly forgot about an important task. Finding her sudden change of plans highly unusual, the worried boy immediately offers his assistance. She firmly rejects his kind offer and cheerfully promises that everything will be completely fine. Left standing alone in the quiet hallway, the anxious young boy stares after her with concern. A mischievous classmate lurking nearby eagerly notes that this highly unusual situation smells incredibly fishy. A shocked boy silently peeks around the school locker corner as Reiko calmly walks away. The deeply surprised boy silently processes the unexpected situation unfolding right in front of him. Two students secretly meet up together on the completely deserted and quiet school rooftop area. The nervous boy asks exactly why she mysteriously summoned him here with a secret letter. He urgently admits needing to speak privately face to face while the girl fakes joy. The scheming girl listens intently with a completely serious expression hiding her true dark thoughts. Blushing deeply, the boy finally gathers his courage and earnestly asks her to go out. Hearing the sudden confession, the young girl widens her eyes and perfectly carefully fakes surprise. Casting her gaze downward, she expertly plays the role of a deeply conflicted innocent maiden. With a softly trembling voice, she gently but firmly rejects the hopeful boy completely flat. She maintains her perfectly crafted apologetic expression while secretly relishing the unfolding dramatic romantic tension. The absolutely devastated boy stares back at her with wide eyes full of pure shock. Unable to accept the harsh reality, the heartbroken student quietly demands to know the reason. Clenching his fists tightly, the jealous boy correctly guesses that her childhood friend is responsible. He angrily insults his rival as a completely plain and incredibly gloomy loser without talent. Hidden safely out of sight, the deeply hurt childhood friend silently overhears the cruel insults. Moving with blinding speed, the furious girl fiercely raises her hand to strike the boy. She aggressively screams at the startled student for daring to mock her beloved childhood friend. Passionately defending her target, she loudly declares that the gentle boy is entirely irreplaceable forever. Standing absolutely firm, she refuses to back down from her fiercely protective and calculated stance. She dramatically announces that she has treasured her precious friend since the very first day. Terrified by her intense emotional outburst, the rejected boy nervously begins to slowly back away. The deeply defeated student completely gives up and walks past the secretly hiding childhood friend. Overwhelmed by her fierce defense, the hiding boy sheds tears of pure gratitude and love. The completely humiliated rival runs away crying loudly while the calculating girl silently watches him. Left standing alone on the quiet rooftop, the sinister girl finally drops her innocent facade. She furiously scolds herself for almost carelessly jumping into the grand betrayal route too early. Clutching her face in sheer frustration, she curses her own dangerous lack of impulse control. Taking a deep breath, she tries desperately to calm her wildly racing and twisted thoughts. The wicked girl internally admits she deserves a harsh punishment for almost ruining everything today. She rationally concludes that executing the ultimate betrayal during elementary school is fundamentally flawed timing. The twisted mastermind realizes the resulting emotional devastation would be disappointingly shallow at this age. She acknowledges her naive target needs significantly more time to properly mature for maximum suffering. Staring at her wonderfully gullible friend, she struggles intensely to suppress her darkest sadistic urges. Her face flushes deeply as she battles the overwhelming temptation of a premature rival scenario. Breathing heavily, she successfully manages to lock away her desperate craving for immediate psychological destruction. Shifting the blame completely, the incredibly toxic girl holds her innocent friend responsible for everything. She smugly reveals she had actually noticed the two boys secretly spying from the start. A truly terrifying and wicked smile slowly creeps across the manipulative young girl's cute face. She delightfully savors the magnificent look of pure fear in her precious target's desperate eyes. Trembling with twisted anticipation, the deeply manipulative girl eagerly craves seeing absolute despair in his eyes. Overwhelmed by her sinister desires, she desperately wishes to break his fragile heart right then and there. Quickly catching herself, she mentally scolds her reckless impatience and forces her racing thoughts to calm down. Pulling out her secret notebook, the calculating mastermind carefully reviews her meticulously planned future relationship roadmap. Lost in grand delusions, she firmly decides that the ultimate betrayal must occur during their high school years. She confidently believes that allowing their innocent bond to age longer will make the eventual heartbreak much richer. However, she coldly calculates that a longer build-up dramatically increases the risk of unpredictable events ruining everything. The toxic girl realizes there remains a dangerous risk of losing control and striking at the wrong moment. She frantically imagines a tragic worst-case scenario where a speeding truck accidentally kills him before the betrayal. Weighing all the complicated variables, she concludes that high school is the absolute latest acceptable deadline for action. Smiling wickedly, the scheming child notes that both she and her target will enter middle school next year. Over 10 long years of childhood friendship, she has already successfully maxed out his completely devoted affection. Realizing her next crucial step, the ambitious girl decides to fully shift her focus toward polishing her beauty. Although middle school lacks high school freedom, she eagerly anticipates having slightly more pocket money to utilize now. Flushed with sinister excitement, she visualizes completely leveling up her looks to become an absolutely flawless beauty. The deeply unhinged girl knows that becoming significantly prettier will exponentially deepen the naive boy's eventual crushing despair. She desperately wants to gift her precious friend the most exquisitely devastating heartbreak experience of his entire life. As fresh relationships begin forming in middle school, she prepares to execute one highly critical new tactical task. Raising her hands dramatically, she officially begins scouting and securing potential romantic rivals to steal her away later. She smugly reveals that the boy who was peeking earlier has been her primary target for a while. Flashing a wicked grin, the mastermind officially selects the athletic and popular Kurushima Fuyuki for her twisted game. This fresh and extremely good-looking athlete serves as the perfect trigger for her childhood friend's deep inferiority complex. Normally, the super introverted boy and the incredibly outdoorsy athlete would have absolutely zero chance of ever clicking. Stepping into her twisted role, the manipulative freak happily uses her unhealthy obsession to play the perfect matchmaker. Working silently behind the scenes, she cleverly introduces shared hobbies like popular manga to give them common ground. Thanks to their genuinely good-natured personalities, her clever setup miraculously makes the two boys become extremely fast friends. Since the lonely boy lacked many companions, he felt incredibly happy to finally grow close with the athlete. She intentionally pushes their friendship to borderline obsessive levels so her eventual betrayal will destroy them both simultaneously. Ensuring her master plan works perfectly, the calculating girl also begins building a dangerously close bond with Fuyuki. Knowing that young boys are easily impressed, she confidently decides to dominate him using overwhelming athletic physical prowess. Stepping onto the grassy field, she ruthlessly crushes the arrogant athlete on his own home turf of soccer. She secretly trained in major sports since childhood specifically to overpower any potential rivals in scenarios like this. The ambitious mastermind firmly believes that a truly perfect tragic heroine must be thoroughly versed in every art. Just as she meticulously planned, the defeated athlete immediately begins viewing the talented girl as his ultimate rival. Sweating on the school field, they frequently compete fiercely against each other as perfectly matched and worthy opponents. Whenever sports fail her, the cunning girl shamelessly weaponizes her status as the absolute prettiest student in school. Leaning in dangerously close, she intentionally uses her overwhelming feminine charm just to make the poor boy flustered. Trapped firmly in the palm of her hand, the blushing athlete already begins showing his budding romantic feelings. Toying with his innocent emotions stings her conscience slightly, but she dismisses the guilt with a wicked wink. Staring out the bright window, the risk-managing mastermind proudly praises herself for already successfully securing one backup candidate. The calculating mastermind firmly decides to secure at least one more potential rival during middle school. She acknowledges the thrill of random strangers but prefers utilizing her abundant time to plan carefully. Standing confidently among shadowy figures, the sinister girl vows to carefully curate multiple top-tier romantic candidates. She excitedly declares that having more potential rivals will ultimately make her grand betrayal significantly better. Pausing briefly, the manipulative girl openly admits her meticulously planned mindset is genuinely hellish and toxic. Brushing off her fleeting guilt, she happily justifies everything as preparation for his ultimate heartbreak experience. Walking beneath falling cherry blossoms, the two inseparable childhood friends officially begin their middle school journey. Looking warmly at his companion, the innocent boy cheerfully agrees about the perfectly beautiful entrance ceremony. The ecstatic mothers cheerfully interrupt their quiet walk to snap celebratory photographs of the growing children. Admiring the glowing digital screen, a proud mother enthusiastically compliments the beautiful girl's brand new uniform. Putting on her sweetest innocent facade, the scheming child happily thanks the doting mothers for compliments. The incredibly charismatic girl beams with absolute radiant joy while her timid friend stands shyly nearby. The gentle spring breeze lightly flutters her dark hair as she fully embodies breathtaking teenage beauty. Glancing backward, the stunned young boy stares, completely mesmerized by his childhood friend's stunning new appearance. Secretly observing his deeply flushed reaction, the manipulative girl flashes an incredibly subtle and victorious smirk. Leaning playfully forward, she sweetly compliments his handsome uniform to firmly maintain her intense emotional hook. Her flawlessly crafted angelic smile shines brightly as she flawlessly executes her deeply manipulative loving persona. Completely overwhelmed by her sudden praise, the deeply flustered boy nervously stammers out a shy response. Hidden behind her sweet smile, the wicked mastermind silently screams with sheer unadulterated and twisted excitement. She completely loses herself in twisted anticipation of violently shattering his wonderfully pure and innocent mind. Holding his hand tightly, she silently commands her naive victim to patiently await his inevitable destruction. Recalling her past life, the reincarnated beauty reflects on her absolute obsession with being stolen away. Trapped in a male body previously, the degenerate completely ruined other couples instead of being cucked. A sudden and fatal encounter with a speeding truck completely rewrote her miserable previous earthly existence. She wildly celebrates her miraculous rebirth into the flawless female body she always desperately craved. Plotting her grand masterpiece, the twisted girl firmly selects her innocent childhood friend for absolute destruction. Flashing a completely unhinged smile, she loudly vows to become the ultimate tragic hero in this life. Several days into middle school, curious classmates casually ask the popular girl about her club choices. Playing the innocent maiden, she politely admits she remains completely undecided about joining a cultural club. Surprised classmates strongly urge her to join sports, pointing out her incredibly impressive physical athletic abilities. Laughing off their eager praises, she falsely claims she severely lacks the mental toughness for sports. Eavesdropping nearby, her athletic friend desperately wishes they could casually practice soccer together after school ends. He openly admits her superior skills while classmates excitedly recall their close childhood friendly soccer matches. The manipulative mastermind internally celebrates successfully landing in the exact same class as both her targets. A loud wave of excited cheers suddenly erupts from the dramatic girls gathering in the classroom. Staring intently across the room, the scheming girl silently acknowledges her childhood friend's massive physical glow-up. She vividly recalls his sudden intense dedication to strict studying and rigorous physical exercise last year. Brushing his hair carefully, the once neglected boy clearly started caring deeply about his daily appearance. The formerly chubby and completely disheveled child slowly faded away into a distant and forgotten memory. Through sheer relentless effort, the completely transformed student blossomed into an undeniably handsome young high schooler. Holding her hand gently, the incredibly grateful boy expresses pure joy about sharing their new class. Thrilled by her incredible luck, she secretly plots to aggressively brew a profoundly messy love triangle. She sweetly encourages her dependent target to bravely make new friends in a quiet cultural club. Glancing sideways with a calculated look, she effortlessly pulls the athletic rival into their friendly conversation. The serious athlete firmly insists that entirely abandoning her incredible sports talent remains a massive waste. He awkwardly suggests she could easily become the dedicated manager for his highly active soccer club. The delightfully oblivious childhood friend eagerly supports the dangerous idea with a bright and sunny smile. Feigning absolute shock, the manipulative girl covers her perfectly flushed face with her delicate trembling hands. She internally screams with delight at her target's breathtakingly beautiful ignorance and hopelessly pathetic absolute vulnerability. The desperate athlete shoots a deeply intense and longing glance directly toward the highly coveted girl. She perfectly understands the desperate rival simply wants to forcefully rip her away from his friend. Her twisted mind instantly conjures a highly inappropriate fantasy unfolding secretly inside the dark club room. The imaginary rival forcefully pins her against the closed door while whispering intensely selfish romantic demands. In her wild delusion, the aggressive boy leans in incredibly close with overwhelming and forbidden desire. She readily admits that a depraved and sticky secret affair sounds absolutely thrilling to her degenerate heart. Snapping abruptly from her vivid delusions, the flustered mastermind struggles intensely to compose her racing thoughts. Realizing a premature betrayal completely ruins her timeline, she firmly decides she must unfortunately decline him. Turning back toward the hopeful boys, she gently begins letting the anxious athlete down extremely easily. She softly apologizes and firmly commits her immediate future to a significantly safer indoor cultural club. Smiling warmly, she cheerfully reveals her prior commitment to touring the quiet school clubs with Yuki. The rejected young athlete stares downward with a remarkably profound and utterly crushing look of disappointment. Hoping they both find something enjoyable, Yuki kindly accepts the polite rejection of the disappointed athlete. Turning towards her childhood friend, the cheerful girl happily suggests checking out the available school clubs. The completely stunned young boy widens his innocent eyes in absolute surprise at her sudden request. Grabbing his hand tightly, she confidently pulls him along while excited classmates cheer loudly around them. The deeply embarrassed boy awkwardly protests that holding hands as middle schoolers feels entirely inappropriate now. Putting on her sweetest face, the manipulative girl softly claims she actually loves holding his hand. Standing completely alone, the rejected athlete watches them leave with a profoundly sad and serious expression. Exploring the busy campus, the inseparable duo curiously peeks inside the bustling and colorful art club. They eagerly wander past various clubrooms ranging from quiet tea ceremonies to completely chaotic computer labs. Strolling down the quiet hallway, the calculating girl innocently asks her precious target for his thoughts. The flustered boy nervously redirects the sudden question back to his completely undecided and beautiful companion. Her charming expression turns incredibly serious as she locks eyes with the highly anxious young student. Flashing a flawless smile, she sweetly confesses a deep desire to join whatever club he chooses. Absolute shock instantly washes over the sweating boy upon hearing her dangerously overwhelming and romantic declaration. He stammers frantically in pure confusion while the cunning girl acts completely clueless about his panic. Suddenly stopping in her tracks, the observant girl loudly gasps after spotting something highly interesting nearby. Pointing her finger energetically, she firmly declares that they must completely investigate the very next room. Inside a mysteriously quiet room, a struggling student desperately stretches her trembling legs toward high shelves. A polite knock softly echoes before someone urgently begs the unseen visitors to wait 1 second. Sliding the door completely open, the cheerful girl happily announces their extremely sudden and unexpected arrival. A loud scream of pure panic erupts as the terrified student loses her incredibly precarious balance. Wide eyes perfectly capture the horrifying moment before the heavy stack of books begins to fall. A massive avalanche of falling books violently crashes down onto the completely defenseless and screaming girl. Rushing forward immediately, the panicked childhood friends desperately scramble to rescue the deeply buried female student. Adjusting her broken glasses, the incredibly shy girl awkwardly stammers out her profound gratitude for their help. Trembling softly, the nervous student awkwardly avoids direct eye contact through her slightly crooked round glasses. Staring closely at the rescued girl, the highly calculating mastermind suddenly realizes something incredibly important today. Leaning in uncomfortably close, the aggressive beauty intensely scrutinizes the deeply flustered and absolutely terrified bookworm. Flashing a victorious smirk, the cunning girl accurately identifies the trembling student as her quiet classmate. Completely overwhelmed by the sudden attention, the nervous girl quietly confirms her true identity as Shyrace. Brushing off the surprise, the manipulative girl brightly insists that recognizing classmates remains completely expected behavior. Looking down shyly, the timid bookworm nervously struggles to process this highly unexpected and sudden interaction. Resting her chin gracefully, the sinister mastermind secretly plots a brand new, incredibly toxic emotional scheme. She cheerfully acknowledges the literature club while falsely lamenting their tragic lack of prior friendly conversations. The extremely naive student happily admits her absolute lifelong passion for reading quiet and peaceful books. Staring at the floor, the lonely girl sadly confesses her desperate wish to simply make friends. Feigning absolute delight, the completely manipulative girl loudly claims to share the exact same literary passion. Putting on an angelic act, she warmly expresses deep regret over ignoring the lonely girl previously. Blushing with pure innocent hope, the easily manipulated bookworm immediately falls for the beautifully crafted lie. Adjusting her glasses happily, the completely doomed girl smiles gently at her terrifyingly toxic new friend. Blushing deeply, the shy bookworm admits she actually wanted to speak with the beautiful girl too. The incredibly nervous student stammers out her secret desire to build a true friendship with Nedora. Staring in complete surprise, the popular girl momentarily drops her carefully crafted, perfectly cheerful public facade. Feigning absolute joy, the manipulative mastermind enthusiastically cheers about their mutual feelings of budding new friendship. Leaning forward aggressively, the dark-haired girl closes the physical distance to establish a deeper emotional connection. Feigning deep concern, the toxic girl frantically asks if the heavy hardcover books hurt the bookworm. The absolutely flustered student waves her hands defensively while nervously assuring her gorgeous classmate of safety. Reaching out gently, the cunning mastermind carefully touches the nervous girl to check for head injuries. Blushing furiously, the incredibly overwhelmed bookworm stutters frantically under the intense pressure of sudden physical contact. Ignoring her protests, the fake friend smoothly insists on closely inspecting her fragile head for safety. The deeply panicked girl lets out a loud squeak as the beautiful student leans dangerously close. Invading her personal space, the predatory girl intensely stares down the completely helpless and blushing victim. Sniffing the air delicately, the sinister beauty suddenly comments that her new friend smells like books. Wide-eyed and completely stunned, the trembling student freezes entirely at the highly inappropriate and intimate observation. Deeply flustered by the aggressive attention, the shy girl struggles to maintain her rapidly crumbling composure. Stepping back quickly, the manipulative mastermind formally apologizes for making such a weird and sudden comment. Smiling warmly, the toxic friend quickly reassures the blushing girl that the book scent is wonderful. Looking down nervously, the hopelessly naive student blushes crimson while accepting the deeply calculated sweet compliment. Smoothly pivoting the conversation, the calculating girl suddenly asks the quiet bookworm about her academic grades. Staring blankly, the confused student awkwardly admits that her test scores are simply nothing remarkably special. The cunning mastermind immediately mentions her childhood friend struggling academically to set up a group study. Flashing a charming smile, she warmly invites the lonely girl to join their private study sessions. Thrilled by the invitation, the eager bookworm happily accepts the offer to study with the duo. Clapping her hands energetically, the fake friend cheerfully locks in their brand new academic study date. Waving goodbye brightly, the highly successful mastermind happily bids her newest foolish victim a sweet farewell. Left completely alone, the stunned bookworm carefully processes the incredibly intense and wildly unexpected social interaction. She gently touches her chest while quietly contemplating the overwhelming presence of her beautiful new classmate. A genuinely warm smile completely transforms the lonely girl as she cherishes the budding friendly connection. Chuckling softly to herself, the incredibly happy student revels in the absolute joy of making friends. Lurking just outside the door, the wicked mastermind flashes an absolutely terrifying and purely sinister smirk. Throwing a triumphant peace sign, the unhinged girl aggressively celebrates acquiring a brand new romantic target. She smugly acknowledges that her brilliant and deeply twisted social manipulation is going absolutely perfectly today. The crazed mastermind proudly dubs the innocent bookworm her ultimate super rare candidate for emotional destruction. Smirking darkly, the observant girl boldly reveals she instantly knew her quiet classmate secretly liked women. Pointing confidently at her eye, the mastermind loudly boasts that her predatory instincts are completely flawless. She fondly recalls her incredibly degenerate past life as an absolute master of ruining lesbian couples. The twisted girl deeply relishes the dark memories of violently inserting herself between innocent female lovers. Blurry memories violently flash, showing two heartbroken girls weeping over a completely shattered and ruined relationship. The dark phantom of her past male self aggressively torments the crying victims of his manipulation. Smiling wickedly, the reincarnated beauty fully prepares to execute that exact same devastating heartbreak once again. Explaining her brilliant tactical strategy, the mastermind proudly recalls successfully ad-libbing a perfectly romantic meet-cute scenario today. She internally celebrates successfully securing both the handsome athlete and the shy bookworm as prime romantic candidates. Touching her flushed cheek, the manipulative mastermind admits needing aggressive force to break the complex gender barrier. Holding his hand tightly, she secretly dismisses her highly aggressive behavior as just another entirely necessary investment. She rationally calculates the sheer terror a socially timid girl experiences joining two incredibly popular hot guys. Her dark mind visualizes the innocent bookworm inevitably getting ruthlessly targeted and mercilessly bullied by jealous classmates. Acting like a highly thorough tactical planner, she silently reflects on investigating the quiet girl's hidden past. She discovers the lonely student survived elementary school by enduring quiet ostracization rather than suffering outright physical bullying. Strolling confidently down the quiet hallway, the sinister beauty boldly declares she can easily tank any resulting hate. The calculating girl realizes applying too much social pressure will inevitably force the terrified victim to completely withdraw. Flashing an incredibly confident smile, the ambitious mastermind proudly refuses to ever accept defeat in her twisted game. Clutching her hands together tightly, the wildly determined student firmly resolves to execute a brand new brilliant plan. Several quiet days later, the highly scheming girl opens the clubroom door with a profoundly dark victorious smirk. She dramatically welcomes the incredibly nervous bookworm inside while warmly encouraging her to feel entirely at home. The timid girl apologizes for intruding while the wicked mastermind silently declares her dark ambitions hold zero limits. Reiko reflects on finding the perfect romance candidate but acknowledges a major problem blocking her plan. She visualizes the shy girl getting violently ousted by jealous classmates if dragged into their popular group. To completely fix this dangerous situation, the manipulative girl decides to secretly execute her brilliant backup plan. The very next day, the scheming student prepares to unleash her carefully crafted social weapon at school. A completely transformed and breathtakingly beautiful girl confidently walks into the incredibly stunned and silent school classroom. Astonished classmates frantically whisper among themselves while staring completely mesmerized at the newly arrived stunning female student. Reiko cheerfully greets the transformed bookworm while pretending everything is completely normal in front of their class. The entire classroom completely freezes in pure shock after finally recognizing the formerly gloomy and invisible girl. Flashing a wicked smile, the mastermind proudly celebrates the absolute success of her brilliant and secret makeover. She secretly used her incredible styling skills to drastically power up the already beautiful girl into perfection. The calculating mastermind knows nobody would ever dare bully someone who looks this incredibly stunning and cute. Blushing deeply behind her stylish new glasses, the transformed student shyly greets her extremely manipulative best friend. Standing nervously by her desk, the timid girl quietly asks for her beautiful friend's honest aesthetic opinion. A genuinely warm and wholesome smile brightly illuminates the incredibly cute face of the newly confident student. Reiko loudly declares her the absolute cutest person ever while tightly hugging the deeply flustered transformed girl. The wicked mastermind silently welcomes the completely oblivious victim into her dark and hopelessly twisted romantic trap. Yuri settles nicely into the popular group while they casually discuss the rapidly approaching and stressful midterms. The athletic rival complains about studying despite supposedly being incredibly smart and perfectly capable of easily passing. Reiko admits she also despises studying while wearing her completely adorable and stylish new summer school uniform. The cheerful girl humbly claims to have a strict academic limit despite her friends praising her intelligence. An incredibly intense and highly calculating gleam suddenly flashes across the deeply manipulative mastermind's dark observing eye. Snapping her fingers energetically, the scheming girl suddenly proposes forming a brand new academic group study session. The completely surprised boys stare blankly at her highly unexpected and sudden group study session proposal idea. Feigning innocent excitement, she claims gathering everyone together for exam preparation sounds like an incredibly fun activity. Flashing a completely flawless and manipulative smile, she asks her naive targets for their honest immediate thoughts. The deeply mesmerized boys blush heavily while staring completely captivated by her overwhelming and radiant teenage beauty. The athletic rival eagerly agrees to join since his demanding soccer club activities are currently completely suspended. Looking completely relaxed, the childhood friend casually agrees to participate if everyone else is also joining them. The deeply flustered bookworm shyly hesitates before nervously processing the sudden and overwhelming group study session invitation. Smiling brightly, the athletic boy confidently declares his absolute participation in the upcoming weekend group study session. Reiko cheerfully celebrates their unified agreement while falsely declaring her deep love for her wonderfully naive friends. A terrifyingly dark and purely sinister smirk briefly stretches across the highly manipulative mastermind's completely hidden face. The weekend finally arrives as the three completely unsuspecting students approach the deeply scheming girl's front door. The startled boys gasp loudly after suddenly seeing the breathtakingly beautiful host eagerly opening her front door. Wearing a casual summer outfit, the incredibly stunning girl warmly welcomes her deeply foolish victims inside quickly. She cheerfully instructs everyone to make themselves completely comfortable since they are currently entirely alone right now. The boys freeze completely after suddenly noticing her incredibly short and highly revealing casual summer denim shorts. Blushing furiously, the flustered students frantically apologize for intruding while the manipulative girl feigns complete innocent ignorance. Gathering inside her highly organized and cute bedroom, the dedicated students finally prepare to begin studying seriously. The highly awkward boys silently communicate their mutual panic while desperately avoiding eye contact with the girls. A flushed girl looks down shyly while wearing a partially unbuttoned white shirt during the study session. Three students sit around a table studying while the boys look noticeably distracted by the girl. Sweat drops run down the side of an anxious student's face as he struggles to maintain focus. A close-up reveals a highly mischievous and secretly triumphant smile forming on the dark-haired girl's face. The girl playfully grabs a bottle of barley tea and cheerfully offers to fetch refills for everyone. The beautiful host happily gathers the empty cups from her completely stunned and heavily blushing male friends. One of the boys watches her leave with an incredibly intense and highly suspicious gaze. Returning to his senses, the serious boy urgently calls out to his childhood friend across the table. Leaning in closely, the athletic rival quietly asks if his friend saw the exact same provocative sight. The startled childhood friend sweats nervously and completely plays dumb about the highly inappropriate situation. Refusing to drop the subject, the frustrated athlete aggressively whispers that her underwear was completely visible. Grabbing his friend by the shoulders, the jealous boy fiercely demands that he stop acting completely innocent. The athlete explicitly confirms that the girl's intimate clothing was clearly showing right through her thin shirt. Spitting violently in pure shock, the completely flustered friend violently reacts to the incredibly blunt accusation. A sudden voice completely startles the panicking boys as they frantically try to hide their secret conversation. The terrified childhood friend desperately urges his loud companion to keep his voice down immediately. Both boys awkwardly whisper apologies while desperately trying to justify their highly inappropriate wandering eyes. The two girls happily return together while entirely oblivious to the incredible tension filling the quiet room. Staring wide-eyed, the athlete realizes his naive friend also noticed her surprisingly large and appealing chest. Looking downward with a flushed face, the deeply embarrassed boy nervously admits a highly scandalous secret detail. The flustered boy confesses that their beautiful childhood friend never wears appropriate undergarments beneath her summer school uniform. A highly detailed close-up perfectly highlights the incredibly provocative and dangerously revealing thin summer fabric. Covering their completely red faces, the overwhelmed boys desperately struggle to process this incredibly erotic new information. The childhood friend attempts to explain his incredibly awkward situation while sweating profusely in pure shame. An unexpected sound abruptly interrupts their secret conversation, causing the terrified boys to completely freeze in panic. The girls happily return with refreshing drinks while flashing incredibly bright and completely innocent smiles. Staring in pure shock, the boys suddenly realize something completely unbelievable about the beautiful girls. The concerned host softly asks if her deeply flustered friends are feeling perfectly okay right now. The boys frantically stammer out terrible excuses while desperately trying to hide their intensely awkward physical reactions. The athlete internally screams in pure agony after realizing he was completely cucked by his own target. Later that evening, the boy happily relaxes on his bed while fondly recalling the incredibly fun study session. His phone suddenly vibrates with a highly unexpected text message from his beautiful childhood friend Reiko. Examining the notebook closely, he completely panics after realizing he actually brought the wrong one home. He frantically rustles through his school bag to confirm the highly unfortunate and incredibly embarrassing mistake. Reading the text messages, the flustered boy quickly confirms they definitely swapped their Japanese language notebooks accidentally. Reiko desperately begs him to return the notebook immediately because it contains a highly secret message inside. The completely surprised boy stares at his phone while struggling to process her incredibly sudden visit. A loud doorbell suddenly rings, causing the startled boy to jump in pure shock and immense surprise. Opening his front door, he finds his breathtakingly beautiful childhood friend wearing an incredibly revealing casual outfit. Flashing a completely irresistible smile, the stunning girl happily announces her highly anticipated arrival at his house. The beautiful girl giggles playfully as the surprised boy opens his front door late at night. He immediately flicks her forehead lightly to scold her dangerous and highly unexpected midnight visit. The worried boy sternly lectures his childhood friend about wandering alone outside at this late hour. Pouting adorably, the manipulative girl immediately deflects blame by mentioning his foolish notebook swapping mistake. Sighing deeply, the exhausted boy explains he would have gladly delivered the item if asked properly. Completely ignoring his protests, the scheming girl happily slips past him and enters the quiet house. Panicking slightly, the flustered boy desperately calls out her name while rushing to catch up quickly. She flashes a brilliantly triumphant smile over her shoulder while perfectly executing her bold romantic invasion. Strolling into his private space, the cheerful girl warmly notes how long it has truly been. The nervous boy awkwardly questions why she entered his bedroom just to retrieve a simple notebook. She cleverly rationalizes her bold intrusion by claiming it remains completely fair since they are friends. Defeated by her flawless logic, the sighing boy turns around to search his messy desk carefully. Finding the correct item quickly, he turns back to hand over the highly requested school notebook. The cheerful girl expresses her innocent gratitude while secretly executing the next phase of her master plan. Climbing onto his mattress, the manipulative beauty strikes a highly suggestive and intentionally breathtaking relaxed pose. Hugging his pillow closely, she loudly compliments the incredible softness of his comfortable and cozy bed. The completely stunned boy freezes in pure shock after witnessing her incredibly bold and careless behavior. Dropping his gentle demeanor, the furious boy strictly commands his reckless friend to sit up immediately. Genuinely startled by his sudden aggressive tone, the wide-eyed girl stares at him in absolute confusion. He passionately lectures her about maintaining proper boundaries since they are growing high school students now. Blushing with genuine surprise, the deeply flustered mastermind struggles to process his unexpectedly mature emotional reaction. The serious boy stares down at his childhood friend with intense frustration and deep protective concern. He strictly warns her that carelessly invading a teenage boy's private bed remains an incredibly dangerous action. Continuing his lecture, he firmly insists that she must act significantly more guarded around men generally. Looking up with shimmering eyes, the incredibly vulnerable girl softly interrupts his passionate and angry scolding. She sweetly confesses that his presence alone makes her feel entirely safe enough to drop her guard. Completely overwhelmed by her profound trust, the blushing boy immediately loses all his previous angry momentum. Feeling slightly embarrassed, the gentle boy softens his stance while the girl apologizes for causing worry. Changing the heavy subject, he gently asks why she acted so strangely and needy this evening. Faking innocent vulnerability, she softly admits feeling incredibly lonely after everyone left their fun study session. She boldly confesses needing his warm company to ease the sudden emptiness in her quiet heart. Her breathtakingly honest emotional confession sends a massive shockwave directly through the utterly captivated young boy. Breaking the intense tension, she playfully claims maidenhood while he teasingly calls her surprisingly needy today. After sharing a warm laugh, the gentle boy proudly offers to escort her safely back home. A sudden imbalance violently disrupts the peaceful moment as the clumsy boy abruptly loses his footing. Yelling in pure panic, the falling boy desperately reaches out while crashing heavily toward the bed. The terrified girl freezes completely as his heavy body collapses directly over her small fragile frame. Hovering inches above her face, the intensely flustered boy frantically asks if she suffered any injuries. Trapped beneath his arms, the completely overwhelmed mastermind stares up with wide and deeply flushed eyes. Trembling softly, the nervous girl quietly stammers his name while suffocating under the overwhelming romantic tension. Pinned beneath him on the bed, the flustered girl softly calls out his name in surprise. His trembling hand gently rests against her chest while overwhelming romantic tension fills the quiet room. Blushing deeply with wide eyes, she softly begs him to stop before things go too far. Snapping back to his senses, the incredibly panicked boy frantically stammers out a desperate apology immediately. Holding her chest, the embarrassed girl gently explains that she has not taken a shower yet. Utterly stunned by her unexpected rejection, the frozen boy simply stares blankly in pure breathless shock. Staring up at him intently, the manipulative beauty expertly maintains her flawlessly crafted vulnerable maiden facade. Sweating profusely, the thoroughly overwhelmed boy nervously struggles to process her highly suggestive and intimate words. A sudden loud vibration completely shatters the heavy romantic atmosphere between the deeply flustered childhood friends. Quickly grabbing her ringing device, the startled girl announces that she really should answer her phone. Holding the phone to her ear, she fakes a completely casual conversation with her waiting mother. The awkward boy watches silently while she completely diffuses the intense romantic tension with mundane chatter. Lowering her device, the gentle girl softly declares that she should probably head back home now. Still completely dazed, the sweating boy awkwardly agrees while struggling to calm his wildly racing heart. Looking up through her dark bangs, she flashes an incredibly subtle and deeply calculating hidden glance. The exhausted boy slumps his shoulders while the manipulative girl quietly prepares to leave his bedroom. Glancing back with shimmering eyes, she masterfully plays the role of a delicate and vulnerable maiden. Pouting adorably, she completely catches him off guard by softly asking if he will escort her. Staring intently, the cunning girl challenges him about letting a fragile maiden walk home completely alone. Utterly surprised by her bold request, the blushing boy nervously questions if that is truly okay. Leaning in closer, she intensely questions his willingness to send a girl into the dangerous night. Defeated by her undeniable logic, the flustered boy firmly agrees to walk her safely back home. Standing by the door together, the quiet pair finally prepares to leave his dark suburban house. Flashing an absolutely terrifying grin, the unhinged mastermind proudly declares everything is going exactly as planned. She smugly celebrates the absolute flawless execution of her deeply twisted and highly calculated romantic scheme. Recalling her past struggles, the cunning girl admits a recent miscalculation severely stressed her twisted mind. She acknowledges that her childhood friend unexpectedly experienced a massive glow-up, making him incredibly popular. Watching jealous girls swarm him forced the manipulative mastermind to constantly flirt just to ward them off. Peeking around a corner, she secretly stalks him while confirming he consistently rejects every single confession. The calculating mastermind realizes spending excessive time with her new female friend dangerously neglected her target. To regain absolute control, the toxic girl firmly resolved to drive a massive emotional wedge today. She happily reveals the true sinister purpose behind organizing the seemingly innocent weekend group study session. The wicked girl proudly confesses to intentionally swapping the notebooks and perfectly orchestrating the bedfall. Displaying her phone screen, she delightfully explains setting a fake alarm to interrupt at the perfect moment. Her brilliant tactical idea sprouted from carefully observing the growing bond between her two male targets. The entire setup successfully manipulated the naive boy into firmly believing she is exclusively reserved for him. Smiling victoriously, she confirms her ultimate goal is permanently preventing him from loving any other girl. The toxic mastermind excitedly celebrates successfully applying powerful psychological mind control over her utterly oblivious victim. She completely traps him in a highly frustrating state of unresolved romantic tension until her grand betrayal. Refusing to back down, the ambitious girl fully commits to her incredibly roundabout and twisted masterpiece. The manipulative girl secretly considers the thrilling benefits of finally sleeping with her naive childhood friend. The deeply flustered boy nervously stares back while she maintains an incredibly intense and calculating gaze. She realizes that becoming official lovers too early would completely ruin her incredibly twisted high school plan. She rationally calculates that 3 years is absolutely enough time for their burning romantic passion to cool. Getting together prematurely guarantees their passionate honeymoon phase will completely expire before the ultimate betrayal occurs. She firmly decides to keep the poor boy anxiously waiting to maximize his future emotional devastation. The deeply scheming girl struggles intensely with the difficult decision of actually sharing physical intimacy with him. She acknowledges that getting stolen away after sharing intimacy remains an undeniably top-tier and classic betrayal scenario. Imagining his completely broken mind watching her extreme intimacy with another man brings her absolute twisted joy. She furiously curses the reincarnation gods for completely denying her convenient save and load cheat abilities. The profoundly unhinged mastermind violently spirals into a terrifyingly dark and incredibly chaotic mental breakdown. Sighing deeply, the exhausted girl finally calms her wild delusions and forcefully regains her required mental composure. She wisely acknowledges that wishing for impossible fantasy powers will absolutely never advance her grand master plan. The highly ambitious girl firmly accepts that her legendary journey of ultimate betrayal must start slowly. An incredibly focused young athlete expertly juggles a soccer ball alone in the quiet suburban park. The beautiful girl approaches him and cheerfully comments on his intense dedication to soccer practice. Pausing his intense training, the athletic boy warmly acknowledges his beautiful female friend's sudden arrival. Holding the ball, the curious athlete asks why her 2 usual companions are completely missing. The dark-haired girl cheerfully explains that their friends are completely exhausted from the recent exams. Staring intently at her face, the highly observant athlete suddenly senses something incredibly deeply wrong. Startled by his sharp intuition, the girl widens her eyes when he asks about fighting. The confident athlete proudly claims he can easily sense any awkward romantic tension between them. Looking down shyly, the manipulative girl softly admits that things simply became a little awkward. Feigning absolute vulnerability, she pretends to reluctantly share her deeply private secret with the boy. Elsewhere, the flustered childhood friend awkwardly attempts to explain his incredibly tense and weird situation. Sweating profusely, the embarrassed boy confesses that he accidentally touched his beautiful childhood friend inappropriately. The completely stunned athlete stares blankly while violently processing his friend's incredibly scandalous intimate confession. Pure shock completely freezes the athletic boy as he desperately tries grasping the unexpected reality. Waving his hands frantically, the panicking boy desperately insists the physical contact was completely accidental. The highly anxious boy quietly admits acting incredibly distant out of pure overwhelming romantic shame. The relieved athlete calls the reason incredibly stupid while his embarrassed friend aggressively defends himself. Furiously scolding his friend, the athlete calls him a massive pervert for staring at girls. The wildly flustered childhood friend passionately defends his crush's completely adequate and beautiful physical proportions. Moving with blinding speed, the violently frustrated athlete aggressively grabs his panicking friend's right arm. He angrily forces the completely startled boy to physically acknowledge the absolute absurdity of everything. The utterly terrified childhood friend trembles softly while staring at his incredibly furious athletic companion. Screaming passionately, the athlete harshly demands to know if his foolish friend has gone insane. A sudden realization completely washes over the stunned boy as he processes his foolish mistakes. The exasperated athlete strictly commands his cowardly friend to immediately apologize and fix the relationship. Having delivered his harsh lesson, the frustrated athlete storms off, leaving his bewildered friend behind. Walking away quickly, the concerned athlete secretly wonders if his aggressive intervention was overly harsh. He firmly rationalizes that a massive emotional impact was completely necessary for such oblivious boys. Throwing her arms up, the secretly victorious mastermind excitedly celebrates her incredibly flawless romantic manipulation. The bright morning sun warmly illuminates the large modern high school campus the following day. Stepping confidently into the busy classroom, the breathtakingly beautiful girl cheerfully greets her admiring classmates. Her highly observant dark eyes suddenly lock onto her incredibly anxious and totally isolated target. Approaching his desk smoothly, she warmly offers him a perfectly casual and incredibly sweet greeting. The deeply flustered boy nervously returns her sweet morning greeting while sweating profusely in panic. The calculating mastermind quietly notes how her terrified childhood friend keeps actively avoiding her presence. Flashing an incredibly dark inner smirk, she firmly decides to aggressively escalate her twisted game. Leaning in dangerously close, she prepares to unleash a completely overwhelming and purely emotional attack. Perfectly faking an incredibly vulnerable lovesick expression, she sweetly begs him to walk together tomorrow. Utterly captivated by her breathtaking innocent charm, the highly flustered boy immediately accepts her request. Trembling with deep regret, the completely conquered boy frantically apologizes for acting so incredibly weird. The shocked young boy stares blankly as he slowly processes the incredibly overwhelming and sudden situation. Flashing a warm smile, she reaches out to confidently declare their friendship is officially repaired. The deeply relieved boy happily agrees with his beautiful childhood friend to restore their bond. A sudden cheerful greeting interrupts them as the athletic rival smoothly joins their quiet conversation. The four friendly classmates happily gather together to exchange their bright and energetic morning greetings. The handsome athlete and the shy bookworm smile warmly as the newly formed group bonds. The exhausted group complains loudly about the intensely oppressive and completely suffocating summer morning heat. The optimistic boy cheerfully reminds everyone that the scorching weather makes swimming class absolutely perfect. Flashing a brilliantly flawless smile, the highly manipulative girl completely agrees with his exciting observation. The toxic mastermind eagerly plots to heavily exploit the highly anticipated first pool day event. Stepping forward confidently, the scheming girl fully prepares to launch her incredibly calculated romantic attack. She excitedly presents herself to the group while preparing to unleash absolute devastating psychological chaos. The stunning girl cheerfully reveals she completely skipped changing by wearing her swimsuit directly underneath. The completely flustered childhood friend stares in absolute breathless shock at her highly provocative display. Her incredibly bold and shameless revelation absolutely stuns both the shy bookworm and athletic rival. Hiding behind a sweet innocent facade, the wicked mastermind intensely relishes their deeply flustered reactions. The sweating and intensely uncomfortable boys awkwardly stare at the deeply manipulative and teasing girl. Her embarrassed friends frantically scold the bold girl for acting completely careless around teenage boys. The calculating girl silently dismisses their concern while firmly embracing her highly toxic narrative role. She wildly fantasizes about the absolute vulnerability required to execute a truly perfect betrayal scenario. Snapping back to reality, the deeply flustered girl firmly acknowledges her friend's passionate protective scolding. Flashing a deceptively sweet smile, she completely fakes absolute obedience to their strict moral boundaries. The excited students finally gather at the school pool, where intense staring immediately begins unfolding. The completely mesmerized male students gawk openly at the incredibly stunning girls in their swimsuits. Tight swimming fabrics perfectly accentuate the incredibly beautiful figures of the highly anticipated female students. The breathtakingly flawless duo confidently struts forward while instantly commanding the absolute attention of everyone. Laughing together cheerfully, the gorgeous girls remain entirely unaffected by the intense surrounding romantic tension. Every single teenage boy violently snaps their full undivided attention toward the stunning female duo. Excited whispers violently erupt across the pool as mesmerized boys passionately praise their flawless bodies. The highly observant mastermind proudly overhears the massive physical compliments directed toward her shy friend. Sitting by the pool edge, the manipulative girl warmly invites her nervous friend inside quickly. The shy bookworm quietly expresses her deep surprise regarding the beautiful girl's chosen swimming group placement. Splashing playfully, the highly secretive girl quickly silences her friend's completely logical and valid questioning. She expertly utilizes her overwhelming charm to confess a highly desperate desire to stay together. Utterly defeated by the intense romantic pressure, the deeply blushing bookworm completely surrenders to her. The strict teacher finally releases the energetic students for completely unrestricted and fun-free time. The caring bookworm thoughtfully offers to return the floating kickboards for her supposedly exhausted friend. Accepting the kind gesture, the manipulative beauty cheerfully allows her naive target to serve her. The incredibly athletic rival suddenly approaches from behind to deeply question her suspicious beginner placement. Flashing a terrifying internal smirk, the completely unhinged mastermind wildly celebrates her perfectly ensnared prey. Fuyuki glares intensely and declares his hope to settle their old score from elementary school. The two athletic students silently lock eyes in a fierce and highly competitive swimming stare down. Netara inwardly notes that Fuyuki is completely oblivious to his own intensely awkward romantic energy. She proudly identifies his incredibly pure and consensual love energy as absolutely perfect for her scheme. Fuyuki looks away awkwardly while the cheerful girl points out Yuki practicing his backstroke nearby. The cunning girl completely mocks her athletic rival for supposedly lying about his swimming skills earlier. She internally smirks while realizing Fuyuki specifically chose to chat with her in a swimsuit. The manipulative girl casually observes and loudly praises Fuyuki's incredibly ripped and muscular stomach. Blushing furiously, the athletic boy sharply accuses her bold behavior of being borderline sexual harassment. She easily deflects his defense by happily reminding him of his previous insult regarding her chest. The deeply flustered boy stares back silently as she playfully smirks at his overwhelming embarrassment. Leaning in closer, the highly calculating girl smoothly compliments his incredible muscular physique once again. Flashing a completely innocent smile, she warmly declares his athletic body to be incredibly manly. Moving her hand forward, she playfully and directly pokes his tightly flexed and muscular abdominal muscles. Completely shocked by her sudden physical touch, the blushing boy loudly stammers out in pure panic. The playful girl casually wonders if he actively drinks protein shakes to maintain his rock-solid abs. Water drips down her chest as she intimately smiles at the highly flustered and speechless boy. Stepping closer, she confidently boasts about working incredibly hard to maintain her own flat stomach. Her slender hand gently rests against her tightly toned waist right below the pool water surface. The incredibly bold girl dangerously invites the completely frozen boy to intimately feel her stomach. Pure panic violently washes over the young athlete's wide and deeply flushed and sweating face. A loud whistle suddenly blows as the strict teacher commands all students to exit the pool. The manipulative girl dramatically sighs and completely fakes absolute disappointment that free time has ended. Stepping out of the pool, she cheerfully bids a temporary farewell to the highly anxious boy. A sudden and highly dramatic gasp loudly escapes her lips inside the quiet girl's locker room. Wide-eyed and completely panicked, the supposedly distressed girl announces she entirely forgot her spare underwear. Her deeply concerned friends frantically panic while she inwardly admits this mistake is genuinely her fault. The highly calculating mastermind realizes she became overly distracted by her intense desire to cause chaos. She calmly reassures her friends that simply wearing gym clothes underneath her uniform will fix everything. Flashing a highly mischievous grin, she proudly announces she is completely going commando right now. Her incredibly shocked friends loudly scream and demand to know why she shared that scandalous information. The unhinged girl completely celebrates, turning her highly embarrassing blunder into a brand new psychological attack. A quiet month peacefully passes as the diligent students sit attentively through a mundane classroom lecture. The highly capable students successfully complete their rigorous academic exams with absolutely stellar perfect scores. The cheerful friends joyfully clink their juice glasses together to celebrate surviving their harsh midterm exams. The two beautiful girls laugh happily while the completely mesmerized boys secretly stare from afar. A highly anticipated summer break finally arrives, bringing warm sunny weather to the quiet suburban town. Resting her chin heavily upon her hand, the bored girl deeply sighs in absolute quiet frustration. The twisted mastermind quietly confesses a deeply unhinged desire to secure a younger romantic target immediately. She wildly fantasizes about a highly convenient little stepbrother magically appearing out of thin air. Leaning forward in the car seat, the scheming girl excitedly asks about a secret love child. The deeply annoyed mother sitting in the front passenger seat sharply glares back at her daughter. Driving steadily along the road, her concerned father completely ignores the joke and asks about fatigue. Flashing a remarkably bright and innocent smile, the energetic girl happily claims to be just excited. The traveling family finally arrives at a beautiful and traditional countryside house surrounded by lush mountains. Standing together at the front entrance, the visiting family prepares to warmly greet their awaiting relatives. Staring out at the vast landscape, the city girl quietly notes the overwhelmingly vibrant green surroundings. Frustrated by the extreme rural isolation, she bitterly complains about lacking fun activities without her targets. Snapping out of her dark thoughts, the manipulative girl cheerfully announces their arrival to her grandmother. The gentle elderly woman greets her visiting grandchildren while expressing deep concern for their travel fatigue. Welcoming them warmly inside, the hospitable grandmother officially invites the exhausted family into her quiet home. Gazing fondly at her growing granddaughter, the sweet old woman enthusiastically praises her increasingly beautiful appearance. Blushing gently with a perfectly crafted sweet smile, the manipulative girl playfully dismisses the yearly compliment. Laughing heartily at the humble response, the grandmother firmly insists that growing beauty deserves constant praise. Changing the pleasant subject entirely, the gracious host kindly offers them refreshing cold barley tea inside. Sliding the wooden door open, the grandmother gently instructs the weary travelers to rest up comfortably. A sudden look of intense shock abruptly widens the dark eyes of the calculating young girl. A wildly sweating and attractive young boy sits quietly by a fan while checking his phone. Her face flushes deeply as an incredibly wicked and predatory realization violently overtakes her twisted mind. Gasping with pure unadulterated excitement, the manipulative mastermind loudly calls out the startled young boy's name. Standing triumphantly in the doorway, the sinister girl mentally celebrates discovering the absolute perfect new toy.